teachers or professors of Reddit, what is the most elaborate cheating scheme you've stumbled upon? Two girls wearing hijabs communicating with each other via Bluetooth during multiple exams. They've won. Only until the exam rooms start implementing signal jammers. Illegal in the US. Also most other parts of the civilized world. Here's a good one. Professor prints out all 150 exams the day before test and leaves them on his desk accidentally. He suspects a student came in during office hours and stole an exam to fill in at home. Sure enough, he counts 149 exams instead of rewriting the entire test and cutting his losses. He goes to the paper cutter and chops off a 1/4 inch from the bottom margin of all 149 exams. When the test was over, he straightened the stack of exams, and up pops the one that was stolen the day before. To be fair, the student who stole the test should have just read the questions and not bring back the exam. My old scout master liked to tell the story, and I have no idea how true it is, about how in high school he and his friend learned Morse code, semaphore, whichever one uses the flags, and would communicate to each other via pen during exams. Got them through 2 years of high school until they had a history teacher who was a World War II vet. Well, my high school teacher cheated on his wife with a student. Go on. He had an affair with one of the students over 2 years. He was married with 6 kids. He was able to pull it off 6 times. No, he failed to pull it out 6 times. My high school principal was rumored to have had an affair with a student's mother. Then she backed out, so in revenge, he raped her daughter. He was on administrative leave and we didn't see him the next school year. He got fired. What in the duck? When I was a student, I would cheat during tests, where we had to memorize entire paragraphs, not sure what good that did. Basically, the day before, I will write the whole passage really hard on the pad of paper I will be using. Since I sit near the window, the light makes it easy to see the depression in the paper. We had a test like that, but it stretched over 2 days. Night before the second day I wrote down my story, put it in my pocket and just walked into class with it. My friend sat behind me. If he needed an answer, he'd tap my back once with his pen. I'd touch the side of my head with my pen. When I was ready to listen, he'd tap my back with the number of the question. For example, 25 would be 2 taps, pause, 5 taps. I'd tap my head with my pen with the answer. For example, 3 taps was a C. If I didn't know the answer, I'd just scratch my head with my pen. If I needed an answer, I'd hold my pen to my head, like I was thinking, and he'd tap my back once. When he saw me, I'd tap the question number against my head using the same scheme, and he'd tap my back with the number of the answer. Never got caught. Need answer for 99. Get answer for 88. Mudaka lost count. Had an exam worth 50% of our grade. Prof was quite strict about pencils, water bottles, etc. We asked her what the deal was and she regaled us with a story about a Chinese girl who wore a beautiful long dress with Chinese writing all over her dress. Turns out the girl had sewn patches with the answers to the test onto her dress. Not 100% sure if it actually happened or just a deterrent for would-be cheaters. Exams are now taken naked. A squat and cough is mandatory upon entering the exam room. It's not too elaborate, but I randomize all of the questions on my quizzes. I tell my students to take them alone. Every semester, I get quizzes and they have all the right answers in the wrong order. They work together and don't even take time to look at the questions. What was the most popular typeface of the 1960s? The French Revolution. Comic Sans. Edit. The answer is Helvetica. For an assessment, I gave in an essay that wasn't complete, but was what I had at the time, then went and spent the rest of the day completing it. Found the teacher, apologized and said that I had accidentally given her a draft. I was a right nerd and got away with it without a problem. Your teacher knew. They were just looking for an excuse not to give you a bad grade. Once, all students refused to take an exam because it got rated on the highest score. Since they all got zeros, they all got 100%. After that, the system changed. That is a dangerous game. All it would take is one guy who didn't show up for class all semester and wasn't in on the scheme to mess it up for everyone. This is an example of people being clever ruining it for everyone else. I had a friend who studied to be an actuary, and it was not unusual for the highest grade in for an exam to be very low. The curve-based grading was used to give people fairer grades for difficult classes. Not a teacher, but during their standard grade exams some female students at my old school wrote answers and things to remember on their legs, then put tights and a skirt on over them. By pulling them tight they could see through and read the answers, and for obvious reasons no invigilator is going to come over, lift up their skirts and pull on their tights a bit. I should add, if you're thinking about doing this genius plan, just remember they did actually get caught and completely disqualified from all their exams. University teacher here, undergraduates in the second year of their degree. To be honest, most cheating schemes are incredibly mundane and repetitive. Year on year, students tend to do the same sorts of stuff, with plagiarism outweighing all other cheating options by about 99%. Incidentally, if anyone's getting ready to start their first semester of university in the next 6 weeks or so, don't plagiarize. It's incredibly easy to detect with modern software, and almost always ruins your grade. For a biology test, one student wrote down all of his notes on pieces of gum, then proceeded to eat the evidence one piece at a time. For my midterms and finals, I'd give each student a 3x5 note card which they could use one side to write anything they wanted. In the real world, anyone can look up things like equations, so I figured it was fair. After all, I wanted to make sure they knew the operations. Incidentally, every year, the vast majority of students would say, after I copied all the notes on the card, I could remember them and didn't even need it. Until one year a student came in with his card, having the tiniest handwriting I ever saw. I couldn't read it. Turns out he was wearing both contacts and his glasses, giving him major magnification effect, or so he told me years later. This is a pretty elaborate one that happened when I was a preschool aide. We had music class on Wednesday. The class was split in half. One group did an art project, while the other went to music. This happened right before lunch and after nap. So one group would go to art before lunch and then wake up from nap and go to music. Well, one boy, who we will call music hater, or MH, hate music, hence the name. His friend, who we will call music lover ML, loved music. So during nap time they switched clothes, so MH wouldn't have to go to music when he woke up, and ML could go to music twice. They thought that if they changed clothes we would think MH was ML. I'll let MH skip music and do art twice, because I was just impressed that they were able to switch clothes without us teachers noticing. In high school a few times I would get purposefully caught not cheating. I would make it look like I was reading something hidden in my hand, and inevitably the teacher would come over and inspect to not find anything. After that it was fair game. The teacher wouldn't check me again because she was embarrassed about falsely accusing me before. A few years ago in high school, I had long hair and listened to my iPod during every class. I had the cord run down inside the back of my shirt and I'd have one earbud in. I did this for 2 years and never got caught. One day I realized I could record myself and put it on my iPod. Brilliant. I passed my finals with that bad boy. University of Florida circa 1985. Once a final began, the answers were posted across campus, so you could grade your final and figure your grade. One fraternity had their pledges get the answers. They then used a Mr. Microphone to broadcast them to brothers via FM Walkmans. This story couldn't be more circa 1985. I still hang out with an old high school teacher of mine. I graduated in '98, and he fills us in on all the shit that goes on. The latest was 11 students, with the help of a private tutor, installed keyloggers onto various teachers' computers. Through this they were able to get test information and change grades. They were eventually all caught and expelled. The kicker is that the parents of some of these teens didn't like how being expelled would hurt their precious snowflakes' chances at better colleges, so they sued the school district. It was not so elaborate, but in my school, these kids would bring in camera pens and would take pictures of the tests, quizzes and later distribute them. The teachers didn't notice the students holding their pens high above their papers until about 2 weeks later. We had some quite oblivious teachers. At some point it has got to be easier to just pay attention in class and study. That's crazy talk. I had an ingenious way to cheat the system. I had these great cheat sheets that I would keep reworking, and after a certain amount of time, I remembered all of it, so it was like I hid the cheat sheet in my brain so no one could find it. I cheated in high school by studying the textbook very hard and doing all of the practice work. Teachers never knew what hit them.